This your boy Corona Negra, and this is Gloves Off.
It's Corona Negra, no one out there better. Y'all all had your shine, now I'm changing the weather. It's Corona Negra, no one out there better. Y'all all had your shine, now I'm changing the weather. It's Corona Negra, it's Corona Negra, it's Corona Negra, it's Corona.
So I got to put the gloves on. So what? So we could
Take the gloves off.
take the gloves off.
That's gonna be for YouTube because it's wide.
Word to God.
It's Dev Square.
Right, huh?
This is fathership. This is king. This is God bless. This is priceless moment. There we go. There we go. There we go. Look at him. 10 months. This is memories being created. Here we go.
Yes, man. I appreciate y'all, man, for tuning in to Gloves Off. It takes a lot. And I am a family man, as you can tell. Every time y'all see me out with my child. We out here in the city of Bridgeport. I love my city and state. You know what I'm saying? So please tune in, man. We gotta do this for all of us, collectively. This your boy Corona Negra. You are now tuning in to Gloves Off. On Gloves Off, we don't sugarcoat, we don't beat around the bush, and we don't bite our tongue. I have the beautiful opportunity to sit down with Officer Daniels. I know him since a kid in the city of Bridgeport, so I'm gonna ask a few questions and see what the answers are. All right, well, first of all, thank you, I appreciate you.
No problem, my pleasure.
Definitely. Well, obviously, I just let the viewers know that you are a retired officer out of the city of Bridgeport. But tell me, were you born and raised in Bridgeport? So tell me, how did you started off before you got into law enforcement? How did you grow up in the city of Bridgeport?
Well, like I said, I grew up in P.T. Barnum Housing Project. My grandmother lived on the East End. I had cousins in the Terrace, cousins in Father Panic.
Okay.
And I had a normal childhood like any other ghetto child growing up in Bridgeport. I went to Bassick High School. Left and went away to Norfolk State University. Came home, worked at the telephone company for 11 years, and then I became a cop and did that for 25 years, and I retired 10 years ago.
What made you go from just doing phone service to basically law enforcement?
Well, I just wrote a book, and the name of my book is Black and Blue in Bridgeport, and it explains my upbringing. But when I was a kid growing up, my father was alcoholic. He used to beat my mother up. And the only people that could deal with my father were cops. My dad was like the strongest person I ever met. And when the cops came around, he was like, quiet and meek and mild. And they told him to leave the house, he left the house. So I saw the power that they had, and I wanted that power for good, for people here in Bridgeport. So when you're a kid growing up in the 70s, you can't talk about being a cop because the cops had such a terrible relationship with people in the projects. So they just beat them up, call them niggers, take them to jail, all that kind of stuff. So I had to suppress that for years. While I was at the telephone company, the opportunity came up for me to take the test. And I took the test and I passed and I went through all the phases. And at that point I decided to tell my mom and my wife at that time that I wanted to take the job, and I did.
Hey! It's my green cross out! Walk your beat, cop!
Thinks he's Bruce Lee. You want a bet?
Damn you! Wanna fight, huh? Fight me! Yeah!
I like this.
What did your friends say? Because I'm quite sure your boys in the community was like, what?
Well, I lost a few friends, but anytime you make positive changes in your life, you're going to lose people that you think are your friends. I lost friends when I became a cop. I lost more friends when I ran for mayor. So
Oh, you ran for mayor before? I
ran for mayor in 2015 after I retired.
Oh, I wasn't around.
But yeah, you know, anytime you try to step it up a little bit, you're gonna lose some friends because they don't understand what you're trying to do, and you know they're maintaining a level when you're trying to rise. So you know, you just have to understand that.
So tell me about being a cop in your city, because when you became a cop in the early 90s?
1988.
The 1988. So the crack epidemic hit.
That's
You
when the
a
crack
rookie
epidemic
cop.
hit.
You're a cop.
Right.
You running around amongst your own community. You know, amongst your own friends and peers.
Right.
How was it to go home at night, like, you know, handcuffing somebody you care for because you got to do your job or something like that?
Well, you know, I always try to be professional. I always try to be open, honest, and objective, and I try not to judge anybody. So if I had to arrest you, then I had to arrest you. And there were people that I arrested and felt bad about it, but you know, they were doing things that ran counterculture to what I was doing.
What is this place?
Barricade. Come on.
Oh, Bridge.
What's that?
Rats.
Rats?
Rats. Good idea. You stay here, cover the outside. Be right back. I hope.
Where it is, baby? Everybody's under arrest!
This is the police department.
That didn't hurt. That didn't hurt. That didn't hurt.
So I had to make that choice. You know, once you decide to become a cop, that becomes your livelihood, and that's how you feed your family. So if you're out here selling drugs and that's how you feed your family, then I'm an occupational hazard. And you got to understand, if I catch you, then you got to go to jail. So I didn't have a problem with that because that was only one part of the job. The other part of the job was I was able to help. I helped more people than I ever arrested.
Okay.
So I feel good about what I was able to accomplish, you know, during my tenure as a cop.
So you come in your community as an officer. What's some of the things that you said you was helping? So what's some of the things that you was trying to do for your community to implement? Some might not have saw, but what were you trying to do?
People saw it. I implemented programs where I could give away toys at Christmas time, feed people during Thanksgiving and Easter and Christmas.
Okay.
You know, with toys and money and food. I developed a basketball camp that's still going on today. I ran the officer-friendly basketball camp for 17 years. And I brought black role models from all over the country. My friends from all over the country flew here to participate in that. I did it for 17 years, and then a friend of mine who just passed away, his name is Bernie, lost brother, and he did it for another 10 years. So something I created 27 years ago is still going on.
That's what's up.
Like I said, I arrested some people that I never saw them again. I arrested some people I saw them 15 years later. I caught an armed robber that I grew up with, and he went to jail for 15 years, but I'm more proud of the people that I helped than the people that I had to put in jail. But actually putting some of them in jail helped them because they were strung out on crack and they were doing crimes and all that stuff. So, you know, I just did what I had to do.
Okay, that's what's up. So how did your family, like I'm saying, you referred to your wife and you referred to your grandmama, how did they take it when you first was like, okay, I'm gonna be a cop? Because I'm quite sure you probably was shocking them.
Well, they knew, because you know, you can't just decide on Monday and be a cop on Tuesday. There's a process.
Yeah, cool.
In the process, you got to take a test, you got to pass the test, you got to pass a background test, you got to pass a drug screening, you got to run through a physical obstacle course. They got to see if you're crazy or not. You know, it's a process. So it took a while. And when I decided, well, after they offered me the job and I decided I was going to take it, I had to go to them and tell them, hey, you know, this is what I want to do. And they knew that I wasn't happy at the telephone company because there was so much more that I could do that I wasn't doing. So they were okay with it. And my friends, like I said, some of them are still friends of mine today. and the others just fell to the wayside. But at the end of the day, everybody understood what I was doing because they understood me if they knew me.
Yes. I grew up watching you. You know what I mean? You even, when I first used to see you, it used to be just in the community. But when I first interacted with you, you came to the school and you was talking to us through the DARE program.
Right.
And you was enlightening us about like stuff that y'all was doing, you know, for the community. Not only about drugs, but more so like to basically be the broker between officers and the community, you know, the younger kids in the community.
Right.
And that shocked me because growing up, I didn't never see it until y'all. That's what made me want to interview you.
Well, that's why I did it, because when I grew up, you know, let's take it back for a minute.
Mm-hmm.
The city of Bridgeport was incorporated in the 1800s, 1853. Right? Bridgeport didn't hire its first black cop to 1953. I was born in 1956.
Mm-hmm.
So when I was a little kid, I never saw any black cops.
Mm-hmm.
And the cops that I saw were white, and they weren't very good people. I didn't see my first black cop till I was about 11 or 12 years old. And when I saw him, I realized that I could be a cop. So I knew that if black kids saw me, they would realize that they could be cops. And
That's cool.
to this day, you know, I know that there are at least 11 to 15 kids across this country, not just here in Bridgeport, that are cops because of me.
Oh, yeah.
All the way out in all the way out in
bet.
Los Angeles, California, there's cops that were kids that saw me in uniform.
That's what's up.
When I did the basketball camp, there's at least 5 Bridgeport cops that were kids that came to my camp, and at least 3 state troopers.
Good.
So, you know, it's all about just being there sometime and being positive,
Yeah.
and just giving people something to look at where they can actually see themselves.
Was you receiving backlash from your own,
Yeah,
you know,
of
like your
course.
inner people?
Yeah, I mean, see, we should have done this interview after you read my book. But
Yeah. Oh, I'm gonna read it.
Yeah, the police department, like when a lot of people talk about the police department, they talk about how racist it is. The police department is not racist. The police department is a building. The police department is an entity. The police department is a monolithic structure.
Mhm.
It's the people inside the structure. Some of them were racist, and some of them happen to have rank, and some of them happen to have power and influence. So they were racist. Yeah, so there was some backlash because I wasn't a traditional cop.
Yeah.
I was trying to save kids and put them on basketball courts instead of putting them through the court system. So that ran counterculture to what they were doing.
I was telling people that I was going to be interviewing you. So as I'm going throughout the weeks, everybody was like, "Oh, that's a good interview. That's a good interview." And a lot of people that come from, you know, different walks of life. And one person was like, "Man, one thing I remember about Officer Daniels, he would drive, and if the car is cracked open, like, you know, like cracked a little bit, he jump out that car and start chasing you. He gonna catch you." They say you was fast. They say you was fast.
Well, I was an athlete. I mean, I grew up playing basketball
Yeah.
and football and baseball, you know, like most kids in the project. So, you know, when I came on the job, I was still fairly young. So I could catch some people, but a couple people got away.
So not to go in depth in it, but you mentioned earlier that you wanted to become you reached out to become the mayor. You wanted to be the mayor. So what like ideas that you wanted to implement, you know, for the city?
Oh no, that's a good question because nobody ever asked me. You know, because Bridgeport's a funny place when it comes to voting, and we could do a whole other interview on that about how we don't vote and how we don't support our own people.
Facts.
But one of the things I would have did was fully funded the Board of Education, because the Board of Education is so underfunded that our kids are underserved. When our kids go away to college, they're like 2 grades back than all the other kids that come from around the country,
That's a fact.
because they don't have the same experience, they don't get the same quality of education. And our kids are not, they're not welcomed and taken care of. So what our kids do is they grow up and they leave here, and they don't come back. So we don't have any civic pride. You know, this place is dirty, this place is corrupt, and people don't care because they're just here until they could leave.
Yeah, true.
So I wanted to make the city a place where people would want to come and stay, and especially the people that grew up here, because if you grow up here, you got love for this place, and if the place treats you right, that love just multiplies, and it goes through everything you do. You know, if you stay here and you become a cop and you love the city, you're gonna love the people that live here.
Yes,
if you stay here and you become a postman, you're gonna make sure that people get their mail on time. You're gonna look out for people because you know them and you love them.
Yes.
So I would have done that. I would have made some changes to the police department. I would have made some structural changes to the city, got rid of some of these abandoned buildings and tried to put up some homeless shelters so that when the winter comes, people have a place to stay.
Yes.
I would have done more human things than
Yes.
probably
Yes.
politician things. But I only needed to be the mayor just for one term to put some things in motion that couldn't be changed so that the city of Bridgeport would go from a place that has potential to reaching its potential. But I never got a chance to do that because people here don't vote.
And that's one thing, when I was covering this past election, the 4 times it went,
Right.
I was talking to my community, and social media has blessed us to be able to interact with each other more. And they was saying that, they was like, man, and we knew and certain people was gonna basically run for mayor, or if we knew this particular person was gonna support this, we would have came outside and voted again, or even came outside for the first time. Because some people, after the first, second time, they like, man, I'm not coming back outside to vote again.
Yeah, but you know, those are just excuses, and I'm gonna tell you where the rubber hits the road with the real numbers, because I ran. Because you know, when I ran, after a certain point, I knew I was gonna win, but I stayed in so I could get the education. In Bridgeport's a city that's 18 square miles, has 150,000 people here during the day. Because you got people here that don't live here, obviously, that work here. Of the people that live here, about 50,000 of them are registered voters. You know how many of them actually vote?
How many?
15,000. Okay, so that's like 1%,
Yeah,
right?
for real.
So a lot of people think it's black people that don't vote, but white people don't vote either. It's just a little bit of people that vote, and then all the cheating goes on. Because see, if everybody voted, it would be hard to cheat.
Yeah.
But since they kind of know what the numbers are too, and they know that their people are going to vote, they don't encourage anybody to vote, but they don't discourage you either, because they know you're probably not going to vote anyway. So they know what numbers they need to reach. So the way elections are won in Bridgeport is the popular vote comes out, and then the absentee ballots come in. And if you're lucky enough or able enough to get into the top 2, if you cheated with the AB ballots, they'll push you over. So if you look at the last couple of elections, the mayor lost the popular vote, but he won when the ABs come in. I ran for mayor, but I also ran for the Democratic Town Committee. And with the people I ran with, including Miss Bruce, you know, we put up some numbers. You know, we put up numbers that were equal to people that eventually won the lower part of their scale. But when the absentee ballots came out, you know, they had like 67 more votes than we did. And it's crazy because the ABs, or absentee ballots, should follow the popular vote. Because how are you going to get 80% of the popular vote and then 2% of the ABs? You know what I'm saying? So if people voted, that would be a buffer against cheating. But they don't vote. And then they make excuses. Okay, so you're upset about the way the city is, right? So your vote means something. Then you get mad because of some petty stuff that you don't like. So you give up all this power because you feel some kind of way about something minor. And then they cheat and they win, and now you're still in the same position you was in because you didn't vote. Because in order to change things, you got to change people. If you got the same people running the city for 40 years and you don't like how they're running it, why wouldn't you vote? Or why wouldn't you want something different?
No, that's true.
So I don't take no excuses for, oh, I didn't vote because this, why, that. That's, you know, it's crazy. Because if you don't like something, that's when you should vote, to get the person out so that you can get new people in.
That's true.
But that doesn't happen here because most of the people don't vote, and all they do is give you an excuse why. And like I said, I wasn't always privy to this information. I used to believe that. I used to believe, oh, I didn't vote because X, Y, and Z. So when I ran for mayor, I saw all of that. And I saw people voting and not voting, and I saw what the real numbers are. And I seen how treacherous and deceitful that could be, because people were pushing me to run for mayor, and they were actually working for Gannum. I got more votes in Black Rock than I got in PT where I grew up.
True.
So it's all a game that people play, and it's easy to play that game when the people don't vote.
Do you think also too, because a lot of when you probably was growing up, a lot of the information probably only reached like certain news stations. It wasn't on social media platforms.
Well, see, here's the deal. There's things that come to you very easily. All you gotta do is open your eyes and they're there.
Yes.
Okay, that's the obvious.
Yes,
If you want to know what's really going on, you got to dig deep. You got to dig deep. You got to try to understand or seek knowledge in what it is that you need to know about.
Yeah, no, that's true. That's true.
And I saw that. I had a bird's eye view of that. When I decided to run for mayor, I started going to common council meetings and budget meetings and all of that. I would go to a budget meeting where decisions are being made about a city of 150,000 people. Guess how many people would be at the budget meeting?
200.
80.
8. I get 200.
Right. That's what I'm saying. And I'm sitting there saying to myself, these people, common council, are making decisions about money that came from our taxes, how it's going to be spent, where it's going to be spent, who's going to get it, who's not going to get it. And we never get it. But it's easy for us not to get it because they don't have to consider us because we don't vote.
Yeah, true.
So we walk around, our kids don't get served, our streets don't get clean, everything's a mess, and then you see all these other people with stuff and money and influence and power, and then you're mad because you don't have that, but you don't have that because they don't have to consider you because you don't vote.
True, that's true.
And that's a problem. And as soon as you start talking about that kind of stuff, everybody shuts down because they don't want to really talk about that aspect of it. They just want to complain about how things are. But you're the reason things are that way because you don't vote.
Yeah. And I tell a lot of people that's coming out of prison, they reach out to me, especially through social media or whatever, and I always tell them, they always be like, point me in this direction for this, or point me in that. And I'm like, I be feeling like I'm the resource station.
You are.
But my thing is, there's titles, like how you just said, like let's say Connecticut Works or a Workforce Alliance.
Right.
There are titles that people should be wanting to reach out to them versus me, but they're skeptical of them.
No, they're skeptical of them for good reason. They know you and they trust you, and institutions have shunned them and turned them away. That's how they wound up going to jail, and that's how they wound up in the circumstances that they were in, because if everybody was all encompassing and all welcoming, then you would get a chance. And maybe some kids wouldn't have sold drugs if they got an opportunity somewhere else. Because you can't tell me that everybody wanted to sell drugs.
Yeah, that's a fact.
And you can't tell me that everybody wanted to be a thief. And like I said, I grew up in the project, so everybody out there wasn't criminal.
Yeah.
Some people were doing what they had to do because that's how they fed their families, that's how they got their money. But they're distrustful of institutions because institutions have traditionally disenfranchised them. So, and that's hard to overcome. Because as old as I am, 68, I'm still distrustful of some institutions because of the way they treated me. Now, I get treated different now because everybody knows I'm Officer Daniels, X, Y, and Z. But there was a time when I was just Dave Daniels trying to make it like everybody else. And I had to deal with the same institutions on the same level, and I know how they treated people because they treated me that way.
Yes.
So I understand. That's why I treated people different when I got power and I got the opportunity to help people. I helped them because they deserve that.
Yes.
If you live here in this city, you deserve all that this city has to offer, and you should be privy to that. It shouldn't have anything to do with the color of your skin, but more about the content of your character.
Yeah.
And that's what people don't understand.
Yeah, that's what's up. I appreciate you and your time, man. And I need to go and check out his book. I'm gonna get it myself. I'm definitely about to get it so I can read it.
Well, my book explains a lot.
Yes,
Yeah,
and
like
more in depth.
Yeah, way in depth. It tells you, it gives you a look into how I grew up, where I grew up, how it was to become a cop, what it was like to be a cop, and some of the stuff that I had to go through because I was a cop. And the book goes all the way up until 20. It goes from 1995 to 2015 2013 when I retired, and then 2015 when I ran for mayor.
Is there any secrets in here? Like, could we get some juicy stories about cases?
Well, let me put it to you this way. Everybody who's read my book could not put it down. And you won't be able to put it down either.
No, that's what's I'm getting it. I'm gonna show y'all. I'm gonna show y'all the thing I got. That's what's up. I appreciate you, man. Thank you for your time. Bridgeport, Connecticut, please tune in and check out the content. Love y'all.